This is West African Voice Network.
Hello and welcome to Newswave on West African Voice Network. I am Fatima Ibrahim. We begin in southwest Nigeria, where police authorities have launched a manhunt for the kidnappers of at least 10 travelers in Ondo State. The travelers were abducted along the Owo-Benin Highway in Oshe local government area of the state. The victims were ambushed at the Ipele axis of the highway while traveling from Akwa Ibom to Akure, the Ondo state capital. The assailants, believed to be armed criminals, forced their vehicle to stop and drag the passengers into the nearby bush. According to an eyewitness, the driver initially mistook the attackers for security operators until they began shooting sporadically. It was also gathered that the kidnappers have contacted the victims' families, demanding an unspecified ransom and issuing threats to kill the captives if their demands are not met. The incident occurred just days after gunmen suspected to be herders killed 5 farmers in a Jegule power line in Akure North local government area. Security agencies are continuing efforts to rescue the victims and bring the attackers to justice. We remain in Nigeria, where fuel tanker explosion near Yola International Airport leaves dozens dead. In a tragic incident, a fuel tanker explosion in Adamawa State near Yola International Airport has reportedly claimed multiple lives. Confirming the explosion, Adamawa State Police spokesperson Sulaiman Ngoruje stated that an investigation is underway to assess the extent of the damage and determine the cause of the incident. The road leading into Yola, the capital of Adamawa, was temporarily closed as emergency responders, including the Adamawa State Fire Service and the Federal Fire Service, worked to contain the fire. This marks the 4th fuel tanker explosion in Nigeria since the start of 2025, raising concerns over road safety and fuel transportation regulations. Meanwhile, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has donated 100 million naira to victims of a separate tanker explosion in Niger State. Authorities have called on the Federal Road Safety Corps to intensify investigations into the rising cases of tanker explosions across the country. And in Ghana, parliamentarian minority seeks IMF intervention over Mahama's decision to drop charges against Bank of Ghana governor. The minority in parliament has announced plans to formally notify the International Monetary Fund, IMF, following President John Mahama's decision to allow the discontinuation of criminal charges against Dr. Johnson Pandit Asiama, the acting governor of the Bank of Ghana. Addressing a press conference on Wednesday, the minority, led by Dr. Gideon Buako, member of the parliament for Tano North, insisted that the prosecution should proceed despite Dr. Asiama's appointment. Their argument was based on concerns over credibility and accountability in governance, warning that allowing the case to be dropped without due process could set a dangerous precedent. According to the minority, the decision could have far-reaching economic and political consequences for Ghana. They stress that halting the prosecution does not equate to clearing Dr. Asiyama of wrongdoing, and that a future government could still reinstate the charges, potentially undermining confidence in his leadership as BOG governor. They further argue that appointing an individual with unresolved legal issues to head the central bank could create uncertainties in financial policy making and damage Ghana's credibility on the global stage. We head now to Liberia, where CSOs lament impending health crisis following suspension of U.S. government aid. In Liberia, civil society organizations are urging President Joseph Boakai and the national legislature to take immediate action to address the funding shortfall caused by the U.S. aid suspension. Reverend Gabriel C. Starks, executive director of the Starks Foundation, a leading civil society organization dedicated to combating malaria, warned that the suspension could severely disrupt malaria treatment and reverse years of progress. The suspension also threatens broader health programs supported by USAID, including efforts to combat HIV. According to the 2020 Liberia Malaria Indicator Survey, the prevalence rate of malaria was successfully reduced to 10 to 13%, largely due to support from the United States President Malaria Initiative, PMI. The PMI has been a major source of funding for malaria treatment in Liberia, investing approximately $14 million annually in the country's fight against the disease. This year, PMI's commitment was set to increase to $15 million before the suspension was announced. And to news beyond the sub-region, Somalia Counter-Terrorism forces kill 40 ISIS militants in Puntland operation. Somalia counter-terrorism forces have reportedly killed 40 ISIS militants and wounded several others during a military operation in the Miskat Mountains of Puntland State's Bari province. According to the Somalia National News Agency, military officers confirmed that most of the fighters killed were foreign nationals affiliated with ISIS. Somalia forces have taken full control of the targeted areas and have vowed to continue operations until all remaining militants are eliminated. And it's a wrap on Newswave on West African Voice Network. For more news from across the region and beyond, visit wavn.org. You can also stay connected with us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at WAVN News, and on TikTok and YouTube at West African Voice Network. I am Fatima Ibrahim. Thank you for listening.